I'm Dr. Graveyard, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing my first author of cemetery books, who is known widely as the Cemetery Lady of Dallas County, Texas. Now, from Dallas to Austin and other places in Texas, whenever someone needs information about Dallas County cemeteries, or if there's a cemetery that's being destroyed, politicians, TxDOT, archaeologists, historians, and even families looking for their family burial ground. When the first question is asked, who we're going to call to find information about the cemeteries, the first answer from the politicians, archaeologists, and historians would be Francis James. Francis, I'm so excited that you allowed me to come today and interview you, and I'm just so excited. But listen, I got to ask you something. How is it that your love of cemeteries, that bug bit you years ago, that you have this passion, this tireless passion of protecting and preserving our little historic cemeteries, which I so admire? How did this start?
Well, in our neighborhood, we were trying to clean up, so we found that the stones were dated in the 1880s, and we decided that was a historic cemetery. So we cleaned it up. My husband and I paid to have the first big cleanup, and then some other people started participating. And from that, I realized that this was one of the first families that came to Dallas. And so that was the first one. I found out about Texas historical markers, so I wrote a historical marker application for that and got that. So it was the first Texas historical marker I got.
What was the name of that cemetery?
That was the Glover Cemetery on Villager Parkway. And then people found out I knew how to do a Texas historical marker application, because it's rather confusing. You don't get much help from the state and very little from the county if they haven't ever done one. So they started calling me from all over. So the Texas Historical Marker program is very good, and it was, as designed, it's fine. But of course other things get into it and mess it up. But we followed the rules, and so I've done a lot of markers now, thinking that if they had a Texas Historical Marker, that would help protect them.
Yes, I agree.
Because that would let everybody in the neighborhood walking by, seeing it, everything would realize, and the vandals wouldn't be so eager to destroy the stones.
So you were a true trailblazer.
Absolutely, because there, as far as I know, there were not very many markers on cemeteries.
Not at all. Or anyone that really loved cemeteries and revered them like you did.
And I've gone all over the county, met wonderful people, and the thing I like about the history is it evens everything out. If you're rich, you have ancestors. If you're poor, you have ancestors. And the marker program evens that out. It doesn't tell you whether your ancestors had slaves or whether you were one of the slaves. So it's a good program.
Okay, I think that's wonderful. Now, how many cemeteries do you think you've been involved with over your volunteer history?
Well, there's over 200 that we've found in Dallas County, a 30 by 30, 900 square miles of Dallas County. There's over 200 cemeteries. I've probably been involved in 100 of them.
Oh my goodness, Francis. Oh, yeah. That's wonderful.
And I've either helped with the Texas Historical Marker or have done them. And to pay for them, we've had garage sales, had spaghetti suppers, and whatever it took. But the cost kept going up, $100 a year. And I wrote Austin, and I said, why is the cost going up? They're made out of aluminum. Beer cans are made out of aluminum. A lot of Texans drink beer, so I know there's a lot of cans that they can recycle, so why does the cost keep going up?
Right. What'd they say?
Well, they, of course, didn't say anything, but somebody's getting rich. There's only one company in Texas that is making those markers, And I think if they had a little competition, that might lower the price.
That's true. Surely there'd be someone out there that would want to maybe come up with a less expensive way for us to get our historical markers here in Texas. But Frances, didn't you start in the 1970s with your crusade of preserving and restoring and saving this historic cemetery?
The Garden Cemetery was in my neighborhood, and when I retired back from the telephone company after working 27 years, that was the first project we took on was the Garden Cemetery. So that was in the 1970s, and the first marker, we had a dedication for that marker in 1983.
Wonderful. Because, up until then, you and my mother served on the Dallas County Historical Commission. And until then, I thought I was the only one that loved and was so interested in historic cemeteries. And you are like my mentor of why I'm in the cemetery world now, because you were the first one, like I said, a trailblazer, that I knew of no one else that really wanted to preserve, wanted to protect cemeteries like you have done over all these years.
Now, a lot of times people want the marker merely for the prestige.
Right.
And which is wonderful. They should. But there's more to it than that. There's a lot more to it about the history of the neighborhood. Sometimes it's the only thing left in that part of town.
True.
From the original.
And that's very true. Because you'll see towns die, but those cemeteries appear to remain, or try to remain, unless there's a developer out there that is trying to do away with them.
But and it's on the deed record, and the deed records don't always show, though, that the cemetery is there. It's not like they've all been set aside and they're 100 square feet or anything. It was just, that's where the family buried. It was near, it was close to wherever they were, and that's where they buried their family. And I've had arguments with the zoning commission here in Dallas. They say, oh, well, all the cemeteries are marked. No, ma'am, I hate to disturb you. They are not. They are not marked. They are not on the records that I can show you. Deed records that do not show cemeteries, but there's a cemetery there, and once it's a cemetery, it's always a cemetery.
Always.